Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. I hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend. Today, we're going to go ahead and review the market once again. As you guys saw, we had a monster Friday, a Friday that made multiple technical breakouts that we talked about in my previous video on Thursday. If you didn't see that video, we talked about the overall market, the macro side of things, as well as the technical side of things. And every technical breakout that we talked about in that video went ahead and broke out on Friday. And there is some good reason that we could potentially see more upside into next week. Now, of course, with every technical kind of breakout, things can be given up. Things can pull back. And a technical breakout is something that can be a short-term opportunity. In my opinion right now, we are seeing somewhat of a beginning of a technical breakout. We'll see what happens. It doesn't mean this is the bottom. It doesn't mean you be completely bullish from this point forward. But it seems like last Thursday, last Friday were great technical breakout opportunities. And maybe we start to see some of that into next week as well. I want to go ahead and review that with you guys today. So we'll look at the NASDAQ, we'll look at the S&P, and we'll also go ahead and look at a few stocks that I have very big interest in into next week if we see more upside. All right, guys, so before we jump in today's video, I want to make it very clear that by no means do I think that this is the bottom on the market. It may be, it may not be. I'm not someone that tries to catch exact bottoms. I am someone that uses the technicals, uses the charts to find opportunities, to be an opportunistic type of trader. And that is definitely what we saw last week. There's definitely still reasons to be bearish on this market. We're still in a very ugly type of market, a lot of indecision, high inflation, a lot of macroeconomic pressures. But as we saw last week, both Thursday and Friday, there were technical levels to keep an eye out for potential breakouts, and it followed through beautifully. I took advantage of it after making my video on Thursday and Friday. Congratulations to anyone that followed me on that technical breakout type of trade. We'll see if that continues into next week, but I want to make it very clear before we jump into the charts, this is not a delusional, everyone buy everything, this is going back to all-time highs type of video. This is a video sharing with you guys the technical levels that did break out, that could present opportunity to make sure you were aware of what could potentially happen next week. So we're going to look at the NASDAQ, look at the ES, and then some stocks, individual stocks that look fantastic on the daily chart with some daily chart breakouts. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Let's go ahead and start with the NASDAQ chart. All right, guys, so we're going to start this video on the technical side. We're going to look at the NASDAQ, and we're going to review some of the things we talked about in the previous video. So last video, we talked about the bullish divergence that was starting to occur in this market. Now, bullish divergence is when you're getting higher highs and higher lows on the RSI while you're getting lower lows on the market. And that is exactly what we saw last week. So we were seeing lower lows on this NASDAQ on the daily chart. And if you go and look at the RSI on the bottom of your screen, you are seeing higher lows form. That is exactly what bullish divergence is. And is that starting to work out? Maybe it is here, but we called that in the Thursday video, and it definitely followed through to look at some, or to be some very nice bullish action. So we have that bullish divergence, which is currently occurring on this market. Is this why the market has a short-term technical upside move? Potentially. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, or that we did talk about in the previous video, was the break and the close above the 20 SMA. So I'm going to go ahead and review, or take the RSI off to make this a little bit cleaner. In the previous video, we talked about how we closed and opened above the 20 SMA on Thursday. That was a bullish sign to me. We talked about it in the video. We haven't seen that happen since January, the beginning of 2022. We have not seen the NASDAQ open and close above the 20. So when I saw that on Thursday, I had a little bit more confidence for more upside into Friday, which is why I was able to take advantage of some of the upside that we saw. I'll go ahead and pop up one of the trades I did take. This was an NVIDIA swing trade that I am still currently holding, and I'll talk a little bit more about that trade later in today's video, why I took it and what I see on NVIDIA's chart to make me look for the upside on that play. So bullish divergence on Thursday, very clear. Open and close above the 20 SMA, very clear, something we never saw since the beginning of this year. And that is why I think you got some of that upside on Friday. It was a very nice technical move. Congratulations, anyone that read the chart, saw something that was starting to change, feeling that price action starting to creep in. We saw a lot of reasons as to why there would be more upside on Friday. Now, where are we now? Where is the NASDAQ sitting now? What are the levels we need to watch out for? Well, the first level that I was very focused on Thursday when I made that video was this 14,400 level. Now, why was I focused on 14,400? 14,400. Well, if we go into the 4-hour chart here, guys, what you're going to be looking at is this 14,400 previous resistance. We resisted this 2 times back in the beginning of March, and I figured that this would be a monster level for us to watch on the NASDAQ. Well, I can say on Friday, we did close above that level, and the NASDAQ is officially making a higher high there. Now, does that hold? That is a whole nother question that I am not willing to go ahead and answer today, because we definitely could see a pretty decent pullback on this market after seeing a pretty astonishing move on Friday. So the pullback could absolutely happen. But what is happening right now, what is on our charts right now, without us trying to predict the future, what I can tell you is happening right now is that the NASDAQ did make a higher high on Friday since about mid-February. So the entire month of March, we are officially at a higher high if you just look at the price action from around, let's just say, let's call it right around February 15th, February 16th until now. This is the first higher high that is occurring on this market. That is a strong technical look. We had a double bottom, we had a higher high start to build here, and we are breaking over a very key resistance at 14,400. So I'm not here to tell you that this is going straight up, but what I am here to tell you is that that is a very important breakout that we saw on the NASDAQ after seeing some of that hold on the overall market. So that's big to me, and this is something I am very interested in watching next week. Do we hold above 14,400? If I take us back to the daily chart, you're going to see this even clearer. You can see that the market had a previous high right around this 14,400, right around here, and we are officially making a little bit of a higher high. So that's the first takeaway. That's a very big takeaway to me. This is something in the right direction for the bulls, in my opinion. Does it pull back? It absolutely can. Let's say off this 14.4, maybe we pull back to around 13.8, which would be a nice little break and retest. If we go to the 4-hour chart, we can go ahead and look at this again. So the previous level where we broke out above was right around that 13.8, and that could actually make a very nice break and retest. So if we do pull back to that 13.8, but we do hold it and make a higher low, that could be another step in the right direction, right? We never want to anticipate the market to just go vertical over an extended period of time. There's always going to be pullbacks on this market. The key from this point forward, now that we have made that 14.4 breakout, is to see if we can make higher lows. So even if we pull back, you want to see if this market can start to make some higher lows. And the first area where I would love to see the market hold, if we do get a pullback, is right here around that 13,800. This was a previous resistance that I would want to see turn into support. All right, guys, so the last thing I want to talk about on the NASDAQ, we're back on the daily chart here, is something that a lot of people have been talking about, and that is a death cross. Now, the death cross is when the 50 SMA on the daily chart crosses below the 200 SMA. That occurred right around here. Right here around March 1st, we had that death cross start to come in. This is the 50 SMA, which is the yellow line, and the 200 SMA, which is the red line. Now, you can see we went ahead and had the 50 cross under the 200, and that means in the short term, we are very weak. We are bearish in the short term because a shorter term moving average crossed below a longer term moving average. Now, typically, when you get that death cross, the market can push up to the 50 SMA or 200 SMA, and that is where it ultimately rejects. So if I had to do one thing, if I had to check myself for 1 second here, the first thing that I would be careful of if you are very, very bullish into next week, which I am not, but I am looking at some technical breakouts, which I would like to see follow through. The first thing that I would like to watch out for is the 50 SMA, which is where we basically closed on Friday. So do we reject off this 50? Do we get our pullback back to 13.8? Of course, that is very possible, and that actually would be very good in my opinion. I think we need a pullback after 4 days of green upside on the NASDAQ market. A pullback would be warranted, but I would like to see us make higher lows. That's the key. From this point forward, no matter how many pullbacks there are from this point forward, we need to make higher lows on the market. So, moving into next week, I would expect pullbacks on this NASDAQ because we just pushed up very large in 4 days, but we need to have a pullback that is higher than the previous low, around 13,000. I would like to see it pull back to 13.8, a little break and retest, and I would like to see us hold 13.8 and continue this move to the upside. So that's my review right now, guys. To recap the NASDAQ really quick, Last week, we talked about the bullish divergence and the open and close above the 20 SMA. Those were two very good things in the market. We got the upside because of that, in my opinion. We got that technical move, which we saw on Friday. Now, moving into next week, first, we should expect pullbacks. We can't move straight up over 4 days and not expect a red day into next week. We're sitting at the 50 SMA on the NASDAQ, which is where we could reject on this level. If we reject that 50, if we get a pullback, we want to see a higher low be built, preferably right at that 13.8 level. If we get that 13.8 pullback, we start to see some strength at that level. That may be our opportunity to try to play us back to the upside if we get that higher low get built into this market. So that's the NASDAQ. That's what I'm looking at as far as the technicals. I'll put a quick disclaimer in here, guys. I didn't talk about any macroeconomic events. Macroeconomic events are very, very important in a market as we're seeing right now. So everything that I talk about here can be totally, totally invalid if we get some type of crazy macroeconomic news that totally messes up the move that we're seeing. So keep that in mind. That is always something as a day trader or as an investor, we have to know macroeconomic events can totally invalidate technical analysis. So here's the ES, guys. Now we're looking at the ES, and what we're looking at is another very large breakout on the market above 4,400 on the ES. We talked about this level last week. We talked about the bullish divergence, the close and open above the 20, and the very important level at 4,400. Well, I can say on Friday we got well above that 44 and closed all the way up at the 200 SMA. We opened and closed, we closed above the 50 SMA as well on the ES, which is something that we can't say for the NASDAQ. So the ES is definitely the stronger index here. We can see we're above the 50, we're above the 20, and we closed right at the 200. So is a technical pullback coming? Absolutely. It could absolutely come here. Where do we want to see this ES hold up at? It is very clear. We want to see the ES hold up at previous resistance at 4,400. If we go to the 4-hour chart, we can see that if we do pull back, we would want to see the ES hold 4,400, do a little pullback, little retest, and find support at that level. Previous resistance, we want to see that turn into support. If that does not turn into support, then we are not making higher lows, and that would be something that would a little bit, would concern me on this market for upside. So we have the very clear technical breakout on the ES, which we talked about Thursday, above 4,400. Now the key is that even if we see pullbacks, which we should expect, we want to see higher lows get built, preferably here at 4,400. So guys, on the NASDAQ, on the ES, the breakout is there. We see the technical breakout. We see the higher high that was built since the beginning of March. We have that technical move, which we saw over 14,400 on the NASDAQ, as well as 4,400 on the ES. Now the key moving into next week is to make sure we make some higher lows. We do not want to see us slip, give up this entire move. If we do, we're sitting at the same area we were previously. The goal for the bulls, make higher lows, expect pullbacks, and see if this market can gradually try to gain some traction. So those are the technical breakouts that I'm watching into next week. Those are the pullback levels that I'm watching into next week. Let's see what happens. Now I want to go ahead and review with you guys 3 names that I think look fantastic on the daily chart and should be must watches if this market continues higher. All right, guys, the first one here is one of my favorite stocks in the market, and I think this is an absolutely gorgeous daily chart. You can fight with me till the end on it, but this looks very good to me as for a technical move here on NVIDIA. NVIDIA had a downtrend. It's been downtrending since its highs in November. You guys can see the downtrend that I sort of drew out here, and you can see that very strong support that built around 210. We held it here. We held it almost 4 times over the last 2 months. And you can see on Friday, this was a clear daily chart, technical breakout. You could call this a bull flag. You could call it just a break above some of these resistance levels. I think this is personally just a very large bull flag on the daily. Very strong support at 210, downtrend, and a totally invalidated move there of the downtrend, a big breakout above that level. In my opinion, I think this could have more upside if the market does find a little bit more strength. I'm eyeing around this 267, 270 level right up in here. You guys can see we had previous resistance, previous support. And we also have the 100 SMA, which is sitting right around that 270. So 270 is a big level for me to watch. We very clearly got above that downtrend, and you guys can see this 270 is the next level that I have my eyes out for. However, I'm currently in a swing trade on NVIDIA. April contracts, I'll pop up the contracts for you guys to see. I think this looks great. I think there's a lot of reasons to be bullish on NVIDIA into the future. If you are someone that is a long-term investor, someone that has a longer-term horizon, this breakout on the daily chart, I think, is creating some type of buying pressure. I think we push into the 270s. And for me personally, I just think this is a great opportunity, regardless of what your goals are, to purchase NVIDIA shares. I mean, we were down 40% on NVIDIA. I think we all know NVIDIA is a stock that will definitely have a say in our future. I think they definitely are a stock that will perform into the future, let's say 10, 20 years down the road. I don't think you are going to get another chance in a very long time to buy NVIDIA that was once 40% off the highs. That doesn't happen every day. We can't say very often that we got NVIDIA shares at 40% below their highs. So I like this. You know, I'm trying not to be a very, very delusional bull here, but I just really have no reason not to like NVIDIA 40% off the highs after a very large daily chart technical breakout, as you guys can see right here. Look at the strength on Friday. Look at the volume that came in on this push. I love this opportunity. I'll definitely be looking to take more opportunity into next week. I would definitely be watching this move. NVIDIA, the next one I want to show you guys is a one that's a little bit more questionable, but definitely a very nice breakout. So Square, a stock that has been beat down, a stock that I definitely don't have very high expectations for, but I definitely want to show you the technical breakout that is occurring right now. So we can see since November, Square has pulled back, let's just say about 70%, guys. That's crazy. I mean, 70% lower on Square, that's a pretty insane pullback. Now, what happened last week that is very interesting to me? As you guys can see, we had a channel that was built, 131 to 95. We had a channel that we were trading in for about 2 months, a month and a half. We went from going straight down to channeling sideways. This move that I'm seeing on Square is sort of like the progression of a potential bounce, right? You go from just a falling knife to sort of channeling sideways, finding some support, and then eventually breaking out. I think you're starting to see that breakout. So you got your downtrend down 70% from the highs. You got a sort of consolidation here between that 95 and 130 level. And look at what happened on Friday. We got a great breakout above this 130 level. Very clear to see. Big green close above that 130. Very nice volume as well. I think there's short-term opportunity here. Whether that's up to this 100 SMA, which is around 160, or whether that's further, either way, as a trader to take advantage of potential opportunity, short-term opportunity, I think this looks like an opportunity to me. Daily chart breakout above a very key resistance level. Maybe we get a pullback, break and retest, or maybe we just see a little bit more continuation into next week. So this is the second one that I am definitely going to be watching next week. All right, guys, so the final one I want to show you, which I think should be on everyone's watch here, is Tesla. Now, I know Tesla still has a lot of, sort of ground to prove here, and there's a lot of resistance above. I'll go ahead and show you guys some of the resistance levels to watch out for. First of all, you got to watch this 940. This is a big daily supply zone right here around 940. That's massive. I would be very careful trading it into that. The next level is obviously the $1,000 mark, which is just a psychological level. So there is a ton of resistance. Let me make that very clear here above on Tesla. However, we can see in the short term, we broke out of a very important downtrend in the short term on Tesla. And when you see that on Tesla, there is going to be some opportunity here. So you can see since around February, we have not been able to get above the 20 SMA on Tesla. Now, we opened and closed above it on Thursday of last week, and we saw the follow through on Friday. It was very clear, very clean to see. In the Discord last week, I even took a swing trade, which I did close on Friday for a very nice profit. Opened these 950 calls on Thursday for $5.05. Why did I get into those? Because we opened and closed above the 20 SMA. We were trading above the 20 SMA on Tesla for the first time since around January. So that opportunity, that screams opportunity to me. Trading above the 20, a nice technical move. I love to see that, and that is why I took that swing. I ended up closing that right here. I'll go ahead and right here around 750, making about $250 on that swing trade. And the reason I wanted to get into it, first of all, on Thursday was because of us trading above the 20 SMA. So we got that follow through. We got a short-term technical move here on Tesla. And I think your next stop is probably around that 940, 945. So I want to watch out for that next week. 50 SMAs here, that could be some resistance. But this is a technical move that I definitely want to be following into next week. We all know that Tesla has sold off very nicely since its highs of around 1,200. We are down just about 40% on Tesla. Is this an opportunity to start looking at shares? Potentially. Is this an opportunity to try to trade this thing back towards previous supply around 945, 950? Potentially as well. Big breakout above the 20. Nice breakout of this short-term downtrend. As you guys can see right here, very nice little technical breakout over the last 2 days. Something I would absolutely be watching. So guys, that's what I have for you in today's video. Reviewing the NASDAQ, reviewing the ES, sharing with you guys the technical levels that did break out last week, that made very nice moves, that we could definitely see continuation off of, and also sharing with you guys the pullback levels that we want to see hold so we can make higher lows. Sharing with you NVIDIA, Tesla, as well as Square. NVIDIA and Tesla, I think, are going to be ones that are going to find strength if this market stays strong. They're stocks that are just fantastic names. Pulled back 40%. It's not every day we get those 40% pullbacks on NVIDIA and Tesla, and people are definitely going to be interested here in seeing if they can get some type of opportunity, some type of deal on these historically very strong tech names. Square is one that's a little bit more questionable to me, but that daily chart breakout definitely screams opportunity in my opinion. So we'll see what happens, guys. Let's see what happens next week. I'm very excited for next week. There's a lot of charts that look really good, especially on the daily charts, which are my favorite because daily chart breakouts are the strongest types of breakouts. These are not 1-minute charts, 5-minute chart breakouts. These are very large daily charts, which there could be very large potential momentum behind. So let's watch out for this. If you want to stay tuned with everything I do, check out the Discord chat down below, or come hang out in the pre-market live streams where I do this analysis every single market day starting at 8 a.m. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.